welcome, and this is for the week of 16 March to 22 March 2026. And once again, we're going to have an eclectic array of photographs, a couple of pictures of pearless pear trees in bloom, a couple birds, the purposeful pictures. Once again, we'll be visiting the dog park. Charlie and I adventured out to Colorado Bend State Park to capture some astro and do what's called the Messier 110 Challenge. We were only successful with 108 of the 110 galactic items in the Messier catalog. So this was a rather slow week at the beginning. I didn't shoot any pictures at all on Monday and Tuesday, or if I did, they were just on my cell phone. Anyways, I had the 100 to 500 out, sitting in a chair out in the grassy area in my backyard, waiting for some birds to show up. And they were late in coming. The sun was rising, and I just looked up, and I thought that this was just a really interesting picture. I've had a challenge before where I challenged myself to shoot from below. And these are some spring petals of a pearless pear tree. The tree's actually in my neighbor's yard, but of course the branch is hanging right over the chair that I sit at. You ever wonder sometimes about what is there? Why is there just a single shoe laying on a sidewalk? And in the past, I've always seen things where you only see one ofs, and you're like, where's the other item at? So I saw this shoe sitting on the pavement, and once again, I'm still using the 100 to 500. A lot of the pictures this week are out of the R6 Mark II with different lenses, but it just, the blending of the bottom, the brown and the yellow and burgundy brown cement just made that stand out, so I snapped a shot of it. So I sat out there for about an hour and a half. I even seeded the pavement, hoping to attract some birds. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe they were eating at somebody's neighbor's house or something. But I did catch these two finch. I just thought this was a very unique picture. One, that I was able to focus through the tree branches. But this capture, they're both looking off to our left, their right at the same time. And I just thought that was just very unique. And of course, we got some spring buds blooming there to give us a little color of green. And after those two little house finches fluttered away, pretty much not much going on. The sun was coming up, and I do have a wind chime underneath a canvas. Let's not call it a gazebo because it's only a cloth top. Anyway, so the wind chime's there, and the sun was reflecting off the wind catcher. I'm sure it has a better technical term than wind catcher. Maybe that is a technical term. Anyways, I just really loved how the light was going against that, and how I was able to separate that from the office background behind it. Yeah, so other than those two finches, it was a rough day for capturing birds. I had seen a couple of these black-colored, well, actually they're blue, dark blue in comparison. Anyway, so one of them landed up on my neighbor's pine, so I don't get too many opportunities to do backlighting. And so I thought this was a prime opportunity to change the exposure around so I'd get the silhouette of this bird sitting atop my neighbor's tree. And once again, I don't get to do this that often because we don't have that many birds. And at sunrise in Texas, I'm not in the right location. So let's just say Charlie was a little perturbed with me. He sitting there watching me take pictures of two birds and some other things. And he wanted to go walk around the street. And so about 15, 20 minutes later, you look at the timestamp, I grabbed a camera, and he and I walked around the block, and probably about 4 houses down from me, it is 4 houses, another neighbor had some pearless pear trees, and they have some branches that are down low. The one right next door, those branches are about 12, 15 feet above me. Anyway, so these were down low, accessible, and had to turn on a high shutter speed because the breeze was blowing. And I just wanted to try and capture these the best I could. So the first image was coming in from our right going left. This one's coming in from the left to the right. It is a different petal area. And I think I had to raise the tripod. I did have a tripod with me, and I did have to raise it up almost to the max and tilt down so I could see inside of this. There was no way I was going to handhold. And I think I spent 15, 20 minutes just capturing this one image. You can't see the wind, you feel it, and then you're waiting. The wind finally passes, and then you're just standing there staring at the branch, waiting for it to settle down, and just adjusting the ISO, not the ISO, but the speed in order to catch it and freeze it in place. Was a challenge. And as I just mentioned, the breeze was blowing, so I'm not sure why I really composed this one other than it was a real challenge, because now instead of just one petal opening, I'm trying to capture an array. So I've got two of them. The one in the upper right I think is really in focus, and same with the one down on the left. Even though they're not on the same planes, they still turned out rather nice. And so I was at f/25. Everybody says you get to f/25, the image start anything over f/16, the image starts getting soft. Yeah, but in order to have that higher speed of 1/8000, I needed to do something, so I decided to close down the aperture to f/25. An interesting picture. I don't think I've ever shot anything at f/25 before. And so this is the behind-the-scenes setup for my purposeful picture for the week. It took me about 2.5 hours. First setting up the camera, figuring out which lens to use. I think I went to 28-70 in the end. Finding the location so I could put my hand down and just swap the roses out. And then moisturizer bottle, then figuring out the smoke machine that I just bought last week. Do we want fog? Do we want dry ice? And we went this way and that way. Well, I say we, myself and Charlie. Charlie was pondering around in the garage with me, wondering what I was doing. And so, anyways, that is the behind-the-scenes setup for the purposeful pictures for this week. So in the next 4 images is the purposeful picture for this week that I set out for myself. And so you're going to see the same type of flower 4 different times with different effects. And I was practicing using a smoke machine, but I also had to practice doing interval timer in order to make this work. So this week I did end up printing off a total of 3, 2 of the purposeful pictures, and then this picture right here of Charlie behind me. I just loved how I got him framed. I was down on the ground and got level with him. So this is it's not my purposeful picture, but it's a picture of Charlie. And then, of course, last week's picture. But I did print off 2 of the images of the roses. I just wanted to see how well they turned out. I thought they turned out pretty nice. So there's one, and then there's the red one, the red rose. So once again, those were my purposeful pictures, and I liked them so much you can actually see I actually had one printed off and put on the back of a t-shirt so that I can enjoy it. Thank you again. And I did not shoot this in monochrome or anything. What I did do is I did separate out the reds in post-processing, turned everything else. Actually, I just went into my color palette, moved everything down except for red and boosted red up. Each one of my arm just didn't look very good in this in color, so I decided to go black and white for everything else. And the smoke looks really cool. The smoke is very unique. You get no 2 same images. And I had my camera taking a picture every 10 seconds, so there's a lot of dud pictures. But when you get a success like that one, I thought it was great. So this is the second of 4, and I really love this one. And as you saw earlier, I actually took it over to a local t-shirt thing, and they do their stuff, and put it on a black shirt. I just thought it was very unique and something I do need to start promoting my photography business more. And I thought, well, let's start off with some inexpensive t-shirts. I can hand out business cards all day long, but seeing is knowing. So I think that putting that on the back of a shirt, and I've got the other item on another shirt. So we'll see. So when I sent the 4 images to the family members and actually posted it out there on Instagram to see what people like, for some reason this orange just did not receive much love. And not sure, I just loved the upside down mushroom type of smoke on there. But this one received the least amount of votes on my Instagram account. And so I love the orange. I love the smoke, but evidently other people don't see it the way I do. So while my hands in color, yeah, I am kind of old, so my hands are a little aged. But I call this one the Industrial Revolution, basically the iron worker. And that was kind of my inspiration for this, the smoke from the ironworks during the Industrial Revolution, and the iron worker coming home and having a rose in his hand and presenting it to his wife as while she prepares dinner, and he heads off to the bathroom to wipe off the grime and grit and everything from a day in the ironworks. Before Charlie and I headed out to Colorado Bend State Park, I took him out to the local Colleen Dog Park so that he could play around for about an hour and a half so he'd be rested inside the car. And Charlie had an opportunity to meet 2 new dogs that he'd never met before.
Oh.
I don't know, I'm filming it.
Do you know that? Huh?
No.
Oh, it's so friendly.
And it's always a challenge to catch the moving dogs, as you just saw in the videos. There's a lot of missed shots or over panning, under panning. That's not the case in this one. The dog actually sat down after running around with Charlie and another dog. And this was the first time I'd ever seen this dog out there. I've been going to the dog park since January and haven't seen it since. But you talk about a fluffy dog. They are friendly. And of course, he came over and got a snack from me, and it's like touching a cotton ball. He was just super fluffy. And here is the second of 2 new dogs that Charlie met that day. I've seen this dog since that day, but not before that day. And after Charlie and he got around to finish playing and they came up to the area that I was at, dog was a Bogart. He knew exactly where my treat pouch was, and he just put his nose right in there. And he almost got one. Almost got a free biscuit. And I'm like, get out. Here's a biscuit over here in the other hand. Then I had to tie the inside out. So while out at the Colorado Bend State Park, I had to check in before 3 o'clock. And then, okay, it doesn't get dark. Nautical twilight or nighttime wasn't until 9 o'clock. So what am I going to do? So Charlie and I took a couple landscape pictures, and we went to another area, and I actually found a Texas bluebonnet all by itself, just one plant, while Charlie and I were waiting around for nightfall. So it's difficult at times to get landscape here in central Texas. 1, because it's rather flat, and 2 is, as you can see, a bright blue sky. Anyways, this was near the ranger station down along the Colorado River, and I just finished feeding Charlie an ice cream, banana and fudge. And I saw this image, and I was like, okay, well, I'm using the 10 to 20 tonight for Astro, and let's go ahead and do a 10 millimeter shot of this. I just loved how that tree in the background was growing right out of the rocks. And so I did a focus stack. I think I had 7 different points so I could blend them later on. And Charlie and I found this flower up near a outhouse at the trailhead going down to the Gorman Waterfalls. We did not go down to the waterfalls. It's a 3-hour round-trip trek, and I was just waiting for the sun to set. So Charlie and I were sitting at a bench, and we got up and started walking around, and I saw this and the next flower. Went back to the car and grabbed the RF 100 macro lens and set about taking some pictures. And I don't know what the deal was, but the ranger came by the outhouse 3 times in 30 minutes, and I'm like, what's going on? So I don't do very good enunciating some of these flower names. I'm going to give this a try. A mock varan. I'm not sure how it's actually enunciated, but very unique and pretty flower sitting up there, like I said, outside of the outhouse. So every year I'm always dying to capture some bluebonnets. And unfortunately, most of the bluebonnets that I always see are along interstate highways or farm to market roads where the speed limit's 70 miles an hour and there's nowhere to pull over. And if I did, trying to get into the centerpiece is a little too dangerous. The risk factor is a little too high for me. But this is a Texas bluebonnet. It was the only one that was near the mock varan. So I did capture this one, and once again, I was using the 100 RF 100 Canon macro lens. So every time I go out and do nighttime photography, I always have one camera set up for star trails. And I had the Kelvin set at 2300, so it'd be more blue, because that was my whole intent. And then I made sure that Polaris was behind this tree. This is just one image. I did not combine in Photoshop. I didn't take the sky and put it with the landscape or anything. So this is the star trail. And then also for about 4 days during the year, during the spring solstice, is an opportunity to catch both the setting Milky Way, which is going to be on the right hand side of the image, and then the rising Milky Way. So the Milky Way was setting at around midnight, and so I captured about 10 minutes worth of different photos using exposure bracketing, so I could figure out which ones are best to use. And then not touching the camera again, leaving it exactly per se in position. I just had to swing over to the left hand side, and at 4:45 a.m. is when the Milky Way was rising. So what I read and understood is there's only about 4 or 5 days during the year that one can capture a double Milky Way, and that's during the spring equinox. And here is the star trail that I take with the R5. I always use the R5 for star trails because I have battery grip on that. So I've got 2 batteries, so it can last a long time. I think this thing ran for 7 hours, 6 hours. And this is a composite of 500, maybe 600 photographs. And once again, I had the Kelvin set low because I really wanted this to be blue versus previous star trails where I have multiple colors. I really wanted to limit this. I wanted to try it down low. So next time I'm going to go out and I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to turn the Kelvins all the way up and see what that looks like. I will say one of the biggest challenges, and it's not actually capturing the star trail, but using the 10 millimeter, I was probably maybe all of 5 feet away from that tree. And if you look down at the very base of it, there's a cactus that's about 3 or 4 feet tall. That whole area was just nothing but cacti, and just stepping around those and bending them over so I can get the camera set up. That was the challenge in and of itself in order to capture this frame. So this is the left-hand side. This is the Milky Way rising, and this is at 4:45 in the morning. And there's about a town, probably about 35, 40 miles away, but that is what the lights are coming from on the horizon there. And anyway, so I was able to take, this is not a panorama. I did take a pano of this. I was just trying to figure out where this thing began. I knew it was going to be over that center tree, as you'll see in the panorama following. And so here is the panorama. On the right side is the Milky Way setting. This was around midnight till 12:15. And then on the left-hand side is the Milky Way rising at 4:45 in the morning. And when you're doing panos, sometimes you don't realize. So on the far left-hand side, that pink glow is a light that I have down so I can find my R5 that's doing the star trail in the dark. And then I have another one, and these are just set at 1% power, but you can see how bright they are. And then the light in the middle, I'm like, what is going on? I don't have a light in the middle. And come back and went back and forth through the pictures, and this was at midnight, but there's a primitive camping area about 1.25 miles down, and evidently these people had walked back to their car, picked up something, and they were walking back. I can't tell the direction, left or right, but the primitive camp area is over to the right, like I said, about 1.25 miles, and just interesting them walking around in the middle of the night. And Charlie did not even realize they were out there. He didn't even bark. And so then the next day we got back from actually the same day we got back from the Colorado Bend State Park. And Charlie, after I woke up at 3 o'clock, he was antsy and wanted to get out and play. So it's like, all right, let's go down to the dog park so you can run around and get some exercise. And I'd captured this. I had the 100 to 500, and I was laying down on the ground with him and several other dogs that you're going to see in the following videos. I just loved how this is not edited per se, as I didn't have to do any cropping. And here are some short videos that I took out there. I'm still trying to remind myself to take B-roll. And once again, I failed when I was out there at Colorado Bend State Park. I had plenty of opportunities to shoot some B-roll, and I didn't. Gazelle. And so I'm practicing every time I go to the dog park. And this is going to be good. So when I'm trying to track birds, and I'm not going to say I was a success or fail, but it's a learning process. So enjoy the next several short clips. Is that Charlie? No, that's that other dog. And here we go. And it's sniff test time. Where did the other one go to? Get out of my scene. And so once again, the primary purpose for going out to Colorado Bend State Park that night was, one, for the Double Milky Way, but primarily it was to do the Messier 110 challenge. And starting right when the sun is starting to set, you work from the west going back to the east, and there's 110 objects, and I was going to give each one like 10 minutes to capture, and then I started doing the math, and well, if I only give it 5 minutes per image, then that's 12 images an hour. Well, I got 110. I don't have 9.5 hours before sunrise. So, like the star clusters and some of the other objects out there, mainly the star clusters, as soon as I got 5 or 6 images, they weren't going to sharpen up any better because there's no galactic dust or anything to capture. And okay, boom, screenshot, move to the next one. Okay, quick, move to the next one. And I thought it was going to be, this is nice and relaxing and everything else. Because one, I was using the See Star S50, so it's a smart telescope. Not so much. From the time you disengage from one target, go to another target, start capturing that target, to ending that target, that's almost 10 minutes. And so some of them, the star clusters, boom, they popped right away after 2 images. Boom, stop, find the next target. And I actually worked off of a shot list that I had downloaded from somebody's website. Well, I didn't download it, I took a screenshot of it. And so I had this clipboard sitting on my leg, and okay, that one's done. Next one, next one, next one. And it was exhausting by the time the sun came up, and I couldn't get the very last one. What was that? M30. I could not get M30, nor could I get, where's that other one at I circled on here? M39. For some reason, my See Star space telescope, it was right next to it, 1 degree away, and I tell it to go track. Next thing I know, it's moving away. It's moving away. 60, 80, 100. Oh, stop. Okay, go back, find the previous target. Try that again. But my See Star 50 just could not lock on to M39. So mechanical error, that counted for one of the misses, and then the other miss was M30, the last one, because when my telescope was all the way down to a horizon at plus 4 degrees, there were some bushes that were just blocking it, and by the time the object got up to 6 degrees, it was dawn was breaking. So this is the behind the scenes image of the See Star S50 I had set up. I have a 300 watt battery that I plugged into this and made sure I had a long enough cord so it wouldn't get tangled up. I got my chair, got a light down there. As it gets darker, it's kind of hard to see. So, and plus there's a lot of cactus around. I was surprised Charlie was able to, over on the right-hand side, he found himself a little clearing between two batches of cacti, and that's where he spent most of the night. And you can look back further at the 2 o'clock position. That's the other the camera setup that I used for the panorama of the Milky Way. So I have 3 images here from the 108 images that I did capture. This is the Messier 73. And what it is, it's not so much the 3 bright stars, but it's the bright star and then the 3 little stars. That is the Messier 73. And there is a history about what they thought it was previously before it was identified as 73. Now, I have shot this one before. This is the Whirlpool Galaxy, Messier M51. And like I said, I've shot this before, and I've shot it for 3 or 4 hours, so it's very detailed and everything else. But as I mentioned earlier, time on target was very limited to anywhere from 1 or 2 minutes for a star cluster, and I think I let this one run for 4 or 5 minutes. So I did catch a little bit of the galactic dust out there. Nothing like what you'd see online or in my previous images. But once again, I was under a strict time constraint to move from target to target that night. All right, so I'm not going to say I cheated or anything, but this is Messier 43 Orion Nebula. And the reason why I captured a lot here on this one, actually captured too much, it blew out in the centerpiece, was I locked onto this target, and that was at midnight when I had to step back and go over to the other camera that I had set up for the Milky Way. And so I started the time on this one, and I spent like 15 minutes over at the other camera capturing the right-hand side of the Milky Way setting. So this one turned out a little bit better. So I hope you enjoyed this eclectic week of photographs, from dogs to flowers to the Milky Way galaxy to the Orion galaxy. Once again, a whole eclectic mix of different photographs taken throughout the week. And I hope you did enjoy it. Please consider subscribing and hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I'll see you guys all next week on Wednesday. And take care.